I am once again joined by Clinton Boring, who decided that he wanted to do this show again after a week away. And we are continuing our fall preview series tonight on this Midwest College Football Podcast, branching outside of the Midwest to our West Coast brethren on the West Coast. I just said that twice. It's been a long day. We were talking UCLA football tonight with Mike Regalado from the 24/7 Sports Network. Mr. Mike, thank you so much for joining us this evening, sir. How are you doing?
Good day to you, gentlemen. I'm doing fine, thank you. Yeah, it's been quite a long day, but the fact that I can talk about football and that we have football practices starting this week actually, and then next month, college football will be here. So I'm very excited about this time of year.
It really snuck up on us. We had 5 shows last week, and I think on 3 of them I biffed like where we were in the month of July because I would be like, "Hey, just let us know what you guys got working on over the next month until camp starts." And the first person I said that to was like, "It starts next week." I'm like, "Oh God, we're almost there already." So this is exciting. The doldrums of the sports calendar are almost over. Football's almost here. Clinton, welcome back, sir. How are you tonight?
I am refreshed, man. For those of you, if you didn't tune in last week, Ryan did a fantastic job with our 5 shows. Put the team on his back like Greg Jennings in the Madden game, as he said, and it was a great vacation, man. We were down in Wilmington, North Carolina. Got the boys to the beach for the first time. Took the grandparents with us. It was a fantastic time. I am refreshed and ready to talk some Big Ten football with Mike tonight. Looking forward to it. Ryan, how are you?
Oh, just peachy, man. I'm just happy to be here. It was a long week last week, man. Happy to have you back here.
Absolutely.
I am super fascinated for this UCLA team in 2025, Mike. And before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes of 2025, I do just want to kind of briefly recap this past year because I think it was a year that went better than a lot of people were expecting. DeShaun Foster goes into really what was a no-win situation with Chip Kelly leaving the job in February, which
Yeah.
was like 3 months or 3 weeks after the season ended. And I really made the best of kind of a messed up situation there. I thought they were competitive against some pretty good teams, close to getting a bowl game there at the end of the season against UCLA, which, I mean, they would have clinched the next week against Fresno State. But heading into this season with, now a full off season of prep, he's got the head coaching experience under his belt, at least the first year of it. What's kind of been the tenor of the fan base of this team heading into this season?
It's weird because a lot of the fan base was split when he was hired. People wanted someone with more experience, at least a coordinator, maybe a previous head coach. But they hired they Martin Jarman, the athletic director, goes to DeShaun Foster, who had already accepted the position of the running backs coach at with the Las Vegas Raiders, um, and brings them back. I was interested to see how it was, but yeah, you brought up a good point. It was really late in the season, so not only did he have a late jump on recruiting, but especially building his staff. So he just kind of had to uh, choose the best available. A lot of coaches who hadn't worked but had a lot of experience. Um, the interesting one was first hiring Eric Bieniemy,
Mm-hmm.
which gave UCLA quite the complex offense. Which, yeah, if fans were kind of scratching their heads, I'm sure the players were scratching their heads even more because of the fact that it was just so freaking complicated. You give like maybe 3, 4, 5 words. The enemy's doing whole full sentences for a West Coast style type of offense, and it was it was like being in first gear for the first 3 games and then go, oh, whoa, we have a second and a third and a fourth gear. So it did take some time. And yeah, UCLA won 4 of their last 6, but they still just were short of becoming bowl eligible. And then this next offseason happens. So they don't become bowl eligible, only win 5 games. Early offseason for DeShaun Foster. What does he do? He goes to work. One of the first things he does is they part ways with Eric Bieniemy and that complex offense, and he hires the quarterbacks coach from Indiana, Tino Sinceri, which, by the way, beautiful hair, gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
um, sorry about that. My texts are going off. I'm trying
Oh,
to
you're
shut that
good.
up. So that was like, okay, that's interesting. Then he goes and hires a former Bruin secondary coach, Demetrius Martin, who did a really good job under Jim Mora. And it was like, oh, okay, let's see what's going on. Hires Andy Kwan, good experienced offensive line coach, but we saw progress in spring. But then we also saw progress from the coaches in their aggressiveness in recruiting. And like even DeShaun Foster said last week, he knew that they would be good recruiters. He didn't see that they were going to be that competitive and aggressive on the recruiting trail. So right now, all things are looking positive. Does that mean that they are going to win? No, not necessarily. But considering you don't have just the complexities of that West Coast offense that Eric Bieniemy was trying to bring, the offensive line looks like it's better. I honestly think that this is UCLA has one of the best receiving groups in the Big Ten, and I see a lot of people like ranking them 15, 16, 17. I totally get that because it's an unknown. We still have no idea. There's talent on the team. But then spring happens. Joey Aguilar looks pretty decent, not great. Halfway through camp, rumblings that Nico Iamaleava is not happy and looking around, and UCLA is one of his top targets. And that got UCLA fans going, oh, okay, it's interesting. They land him. They land his brother. And then they just start landing all these other recruits. And fans are like, wow, okay, DeShaun Foster, even the ones that were not keen on the Foster hiring to begin with, are looking at Foster like, okay, this guy is doing some work. Because one of the things that was noticeable early on is that he brought the spirit of UCLA back to the football program. Didn't really translate into wins, but now it just seems like there's a lot of momentum going into the season. And even admittedly, before spring, before the whole Nico stuff, I'm like 4 or 5 wins this year. After this kind of like little mini revolution or evolution as it is, I could see UCLA not just become bowl eligible, but just looking at their schedule and how they played in certain games, tight games, and against certain teams that they will face this year, there's a possibility. I would say I would be really happy with 8. I think that is a possibility. I don't want to get too crazy about it yet, but at the very least, I think they will become bowl eligible. At least get 6 wins, get to a bowl game first in Foster's tenure, and then build off of that. So right now, just things are looking up. And for Bruin fans, it's kind of like, wait, what's happening? It's kind of like that Talking Head song. This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful life. But yeah, no, that Foster has built a beautiful house in Westwood, and now he has some great players coming in. He's getting a lot of key players returning from injury. So that's absolutely huge.
And you just talked about 2 of the guys in our next question, Nico Iamaleava and Tino Sunseri. So Nico, we all know about his transfer process, whatever that was. He now lands at UCLA. They have a proven quarterback who just took his previous team to the college football playoff in 2024. Yeah. So what are Nico's biggest strengths, and how do you envision Tino Sunseri kind of utilizing or maximizing them within his offense?
Well, it's weird because going back, as college football fans, we all kind of see what other teams are doing. Very aware that Tennessee was a very good running team, and that's, that was a huge part of their success. But, Nico was behind the ball. It's actually funny. Ethan Garbers, UCLA's quarterback from last season, had more passing yards than Nico Iamaleava. But they're just different factors you have to look at. For one, UCLA didn't go to a bowl game, and Nico took Tennessee to a playoff game. But going back to Nico, he has a really good arm, good vision, and he can use his legs too. He was also a part of that running game for Tennessee. So putting all that together and kind of seeing what Indiana did, if Tino Sunseri is going to bring some of that to Westwood, that's going to be really interesting because Cignetti had that was a fun offense to watch. Actually, both sides of the ball, it was just like, wow, who the hell is this Indiana team? Came out of nowhere, and they flexed their muscles. So if UCLA has a little bit of that offense going for them, I think that's just going to be a really good fit. And like I said before, I personally think that this is probably one of the better receiving groups. And yeah, just guys like Quasi Gilmer, who was a true freshman last year, but just an absolute stud, just making just ridiculous catches. Titus Mokieu, Atimalala, a veteran, knows the roster, knows the staff. And then other guys that are coming off of injury. There's also Mikey Matthews from Cal. UCLA's run game should be interesting too because they have Javian Thomas. So all of those pieces around, it just seems that Nico is in a really good position to succeed next year. Also, I think this, especially with all the drama that came from leaving Tennessee and not necessarily coming to UCLA, but leaving Tennessee, I think he might have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. You know, he was a cool customer in Big Ten media days. He took on the big questions like nothing, but he was like, you know, what it comes down to is I want to be closer to my family. And putting all that together, it seems like he might want to have a bit of a redemption season, just to show that, hey, this is about football. This is about me wanting to play, and he's in a new program. So, you know, let's go.
You know, what do you view as kind of the ceiling of this passing attack? Because, you know, you mentioned Sunseri and what he was kind of helping responsible for with that Indiana attack last year, and you mentioned a couple of names out wide too, but then, you know, you throw in even Rico Flores, who I think was second on Notre Dame in catches in 2023 and ends up missing almost half of last year. You have a guy who clearly has the arm talent. I think he's one of the most talented quarterbacks in college football, but there were also times last year it didn't seem to all come together for him for one reason or another with Tennessee.
Yeah, it's. I didn't go too deep into Tennessee until, you know, the end. You know, once the playoffs and bowl season hit, I'm watching every single game. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it did seem like it was. He had like freshman lapses, but still just an absolute stud, and just being able to work with this new group. And it's weird because he didn't participate in spring. So he signed, I believe it was official towards the end or just after the end of spring. So he didn't really get to work with the team. But I'm sure, you know, off-season workouts, stuff like that, he's gotten to know his receivers. But it just seems like it's a good position for everybody to start fresh and have an exciting offense, which I think is going to come from Sunseri and also Foster. You know, Foster was a running back at UCLA, just a, you know, damn good one back in the day. He definitely wants not only this offense to thrive, but to have a running game because UCLA's running game was just atrocious last year. But I think that I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. I don't think that they're going to like completely ball out. Eight wins would be awesome, but hey, let's start with one. Let's start with Utah, first game of the season, then see what they can do and what they can build on. Because it seems like not only do you have someone like Nico who's young and innovative, the coaches are young and innovative too. So that's going to be interesting to see how that all comes together.
One thing, real quick, before we get to the next question, is I was at the OSU Tennessee playoff game. And one thing that UCLA fans, you can know that you're getting with Nico is the kid's tough. He took a physical beating from Ohio State's defense in that game. And I believe at Big Ten Media Days, he said they cracked 2 different helmets, not just the one we all saw, but 2 different ones. And he's tough. He's physical. You mentioned the running ability. I think it's a great addition for the Bruins, and I think they're going to enjoy a lot. Being over here towards the East Coast, I tend to divulge into some SEC ball when I'm not watching all the Big Ten ball I can take in, and Nico was a fun player to watch last year, so I think all the UCLA fans should be very excited.
Yeah, definitely. UCLA occasionally has a really good quarterback. DTR was the last big one. You know, Dante Moore to an extent, but he just did not have a great freshman campaign in Chip Kelly's last season. But, you know, there's been DTR, Brett Hundley, Josh Rosen. So now it seems that Nico Iamaleava is just the next in line to be the next Bruins stud. So that's an exciting aspect, too, just to see a really good quarterback handle the offense.
You know, Mike, you just kind of alluded to that UCLA run game last year. That's a good segue into our next question. This was a run game that took a pretty stark nosedive from what they were in 2023. TJ Harden's gone at SMU now. What can we expect from this run game in 2025, and who are a couple of names that we should be keeping our eye on in the backfield?
Better. That's all I mean, when you're that bad, I think they were, second or third to last in rushing offense per game.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, you can only get better, but it was just so mind blowing because the year before, you had T.J. Harden who's just running through holes, just fine. Everyone thought he was going to be a total stud at UCLA, and then it was just so stagnant. Just he could not find holes. The offensive line could not get in and create any space for him. It was like UCLA was running into a brick wall every time they were trying to hand it off, and so basically they were just forced to pass. Luckily, they have some stud receivers who should be even better this year. But yeah, T.J. Harden was just not into it. He actually committed to SMU late, even after Tino Sinceri was hired at UCLA. So I was hoping like maybe there's a chance he sees that there's a different offensive coordinator, there's a different way that this offense is going to be presented. But no, he opted to move on from UCLA. So the Bruins are going to be left with Jalen Berger, who was a Michigan State transfer from not this past cycle, but before last year. He was very serviceable, and he looked like he would be a breakout stud. And obviously, before another transfer, he was going to be the number one running back. But he didn't look bad. He just kind of looked like he stalled a little bit in spring, but still, he had his moments. So right there was like, okay, are they going to rely on Berger? Is he going to be the main thing? The main running back. They also have this young guy, Anthony Frias, who has been pretty good in the limited time he has. But last year, the problem was the scheme and the offensive line and no blocking. This year, the offensive line looks much improved. As I said, I'm very excited to see what Tino Sinceri can bring. If it's anything like what we saw at Indiana, it should be awesome. But then UCLA got a late transfer from Javian Thomas, Cal transfer, who split time with Jaden Ott up there, and both of them were just absolute studs. And just looking back at Thomas, I'm like, okay, wow, this kid can roll. And sure enough, everyone's projecting him to be running back one. And from what we're hearing, it's gonna be like pretty much balanced attack. Although Thomas should have more of the reps, but I think Jalen Berger, if he really steps it up, if he has a really good offseason, he could be a very impactful running back. But that's, we got to wait to see what's going on. But Thomas, I'm just absolutely excited to see what this kid can do.
Yeah, for the record, 100 carries, 626 yards, and 7 touchdowns with Cal last year, spelling Jaden Ott when he was hurt. So very, very, very good player.
I mean, does Cal even have a football team at this point? They've had so many transfers. Poor Devin Brown comes from Ohio State and then goes out to Cal with all this hope, and then Jaden's it's gone, Thomas is gone. Yeah. You name a name, they're out the door. Like it's going to be a long year in the ACC for Cal. Before we pop over to the defense, what about the offensive line? Obviously, the whole entire offense relies on the offensive line, but if you want to make that improvement, getting back to a run game that we saw like in 2023, is there hope for improvement on the offensive line coming into 2025? What do you see there?
It's been trying to bring up my depth chart. There's so many new guys. It's just insane. It's also awesome too. But UCLA has a few of their anchors. The big one is one of my favorites over the past few years, a kid that has just gotten better and better every season. And so I think he should have a breakout season. I believe he's going to be starting at right tackle, Garrett DeGiorgio. You couldn't ask for a better guy, just attitude wise, leadership, and clearly he has the talent to help UCLA's improve on the offensive line. And it looks like he's just gotten better under Andy Kwan, the new offensive line coach. It just looks absolutely, just fantastic. And it was weird because usually in like certain camps, only 4 weeks long, you see progress with certain groups, and obviously like offensive line, you have to look a little bit harder. You have to see exactly what they're doing, but there was marked progress from the first week to the last week of spring ball. And it was noticeable because mostly because obviously the offense could move the ball a little bit easier. And it's, the Bruins are just having guys that kind of meshed pretty quickly. You have a guy, Sam Yoon, who he's a redshirt junior. He's been in the program for quite a while. He's played under some, very studly offensive linemen. You also have new guys that are coming in. You're getting guys back that are coming back from injury, that have promise. Guys like Olufunto Akinshilo, he didn't play much last year. Robert Unije, he was supposed to be the big stud tackle last year, but he got hurt. Luckily, he came back. So it just seems like that the injuries, first off, weren't really there. There weren't any new injuries in spring, and the guys that were injured seem to be coming back in at full strength. So that just adds to what UCLA can do progress wise. But that was just in spring camp that we saw improvements. We're yet to see how this new offensive line can do against a team, and they're going to get tested early on with Utah in game 1.
Is that a neutral site game, or is that going to be?
That is at the Rose Bowl, I believe.
Okay, nice.
Rice Eccles West, as it was called for a time, because Utah absolutely owned UCLA during the Pac-12 years. And then next year I believe is at Rice Eccles Stadium, Salt Lake City.
Okay, that's awesome. I love that home and home there. All right, now we skip over to the defensive side of the ball. And, I was reading through, doing my research here, and Athlon caught my eye for some stuff about the defense here. So per Athlon, UCLA is ranked in the top 6 nationally in run defense over the past 2 seasons. Having an impressive front 7 obviously helps to drive that. But All-American Carson Swessinger and All-Big Ten Kane Medrano have now departed. Who are the names that we need to be keeping our eyes on in that front 7 that can, again, try to keep this UCLA run defense in the top 10 in the country?
It's going to be interesting because they lost a lot of really good guys, especially the run stoppers. But UCLA has guys like Grant Bucky and Jacob Usage who played last year and have some experience. But they're probably going to be leaning on guys like Devin Alpue. I'm blanking on the other guys. Devalier. Then you have Gary Smith, Keanu Williams, and Siale Tapaki in the middle of the line. Then those 3 have been in the program for quite a few years, and there were also injuries involved in that. They looked really good, and they looked really fast for some big guys in the middle of the defensive line. So that looks good right now. As far as creating a pass rush, it's going to be hard to just capture what Carson Schwessinger, Kane Medrano, and I know those are linebackers, but they helped out with the TFLs and sacks, as well as Olufemi Oladejo. Someone's basically has to step up. There really isn't a clear-cut guy who could be that new edge rusher that's just going to dominate and really harass quarterbacks. But they have some talent right now. But who's going to be the leader in that? Not sure yet.
And then looking at the back end of the defense, that's just a lot of new that it's looking to be back there with a lot of incoming transfers on the back end. Any names that you're kind of looking for or kind of targeting as guys you were expecting to slide into the starting lineup?
There were a few guys that they just popped off the field like, oh, who's that? And obviously we didn't know because we haven't seen them. Guys like Key Lawrence, safety, who just looked really good and strong. Croy Stewart, he's been in the program for a while, so he knows what's going on. Scooter Jackson looks really good. He's another transfer. And Andre Jordan. And it's like they can really cycle in a lot of these guys. They brought in a lot of defenders. So that should be not only better. I predict that it will be markedly, what's that word? There should be a marked improvement in the secondary because it's just not sure why, but during the Chip Kelly years, defense wasn't great, but they always had a very good rush defense. The pass defense for the last decade pretty much has been just abysmal for UCLA. But this looks like it might change, especially with bringing in Demetrius Martin to head up the secondary. But yeah, there are a lot of really talented guys. A few that could jump off the page, who could get, maybe get some, hopefully, conference recognition at the end of the year. But yeah, there are a lot of guys that UCLA has to choose from, and yeah, they should be much better in the pass defense next year.
And we're talking, P4 transfers too. Got guys from Louisville. You mentioned Key Lawrence from Ole Miss. My favorite though, Brian Threats. That's a fantastic last name. I hope that he's really good this year, just because that's a fantastic defensive back name. Clint, did you have a follow up? That I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. I was just pulling up some material to get question 6 rolling. So if you have anything, we're slightly off sync tonight, Ryan, because we haven't been together in a week.
I know the chemistry is. I usually ask the last question, Mike, and I completely bungled this. So, Clinton.
Yes. So, Mike, with all the new brought in on the team and a schedule that's featuring potentially, I'm looking at it right now, maybe 8 to 9 Bull teams. I mean, you're facing quarterbacks of Drew Aller, Aiden Childs paired with Nick Marsh. We don't know what Penn State will have at receiver because we never do. Indiana with Fernando Mendoza throwing to Waffle House, who is 24/7, always open. You got year 2 of Dylan Raiola, likely Julian Sand thrown to Jeremiah Smith, Damon Williams, and then Jaden Maeva or whatever USC can throw out there at quarterback, but a Lincoln Riley offense. There's some stout offenses they're going to have to face this year. And then you're getting in that 8 to 9 possible bowl. The 3 of those are from the playoff in 2024. So kind of all that together, what would you consider a successful season for the Bruins in their second year under DeShaun Foster?
The one thing I kind of noticed a little late, you try to analyze the schedule and all that, but especially looking at comparatively what their rankings might be. What does ESPN's FPI, Football Power Index, have all the teams? What is the Bill Connolly's SP Plus? UCLA, as you said, they're going up against some tough teams. The majority of those teams are in the second half, so that's kind of good and bad because they can start off against lesser teams, really get their game going, try to figure out how their offense and defense is going to run, and then be just more prepared when that middle third and the second half of the season, when you have the Washingtons, USC's, Ohio State in November. Ouch, that's going to hurt for UCLA. So hopefully they can just steal a few of those. And then when it comes to the old Pac-12 teams, though, they seem all the teams right now seem a little bit even. Oregon obviously is one of the top teams, but I think UCLA can take down Washington and USC. And if UCLA beats USC at USC, this will be the 4th time the Bruins have won at the Coliseum in a row. So they have that on their side. But yeah, the past is the past, and they just got to look towards the future. But right now, I think there's a possibility. As I said, I would think they're closer to 7 wins, but I think they could do 8 wins.
I'm just the Utah game to start this season is so fascinating to me because it's just like, and I fell into this trap with Utah a lot last year, where it's like there's just been such a good team for so long, you just assume that they're good, and they kind of have not been really the last 2 or 3 years. And I can't tell if the preseason hype on Utah is legitimate, that they're going to be better, or if it's just, hey, this is Utah, it's Kyle Whittingham, they're going to be good again. But UCLA wins that game, and I know that you have Dan Mullen now at UNLV, but again, a G5 team that is rebuilding after their head coach left. Then you have New Mexico, and then at Northwestern to start your season. You start 4-0 as UCLA. I get hosting Penn State is going to be a tough game, but you get some momentum on your side. You get Dante Moore, Jesus Christ, Nico Iamaleava, last 5-star quarterback at UCLA. You get Nico in a groove there. I mean, stranger things have happened, but I don't. Yeah. I mean, I do this for every preview. I get really excited about the team that we're talking about. I'm like, you don't have to squint that hard to see this, but I mean, you beat Utah to start the year, and I don't really think that 4-0 start is out of the question for UCLA then.
Yeah, we've thought about that too, and that could happen. But if here's the thing: if they lose and UCLA goes 3-1, nobody's going to care. You need to impress the people. You have to beat Utah. You have to start 4-0.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm really excited, as Ryan says. I'm the same way, man, and that was the same way last summer when we talked to everybody for the seasons, and I remember distinctly the Minnesota one when Ryan and I were so down, or even the Illinois one when we had our guy on from Illinois last year, and it was so down in the dumps. And then they won 9 games last year, and now they're a top 15 team preseason. So having you guys on is fantastic for us. We get great insight. You get us excited for your teams. We get to learn why these fan bases. I mean, I'm looking around today, and thanks to your retweets, we're getting more interactions from the UCLA fans, and they're just juiced, all happy to have the Bruins, and the Nico effect. It's fantastic. I don't like to rush time by because I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and we're about to start flag football this weekend. I love that time. Whoa, did we lose him?
Uh-oh.
Oh no! Thank goodness we were through all the questions. Is he able to try to rejoin?
I don't know. Let's see if he
We'll have to
messes with
see.
us. Huh.
Anyways, I'm really excited about UCLA football, Ryan.
Me too.
And more than I thought I was going to be.
We're just going to have a plug of stuff, too. I mean, everyone who's watching this knows Mike. You all are here because of Mike. Because he's
Absolutely.
We'll see. We'll give him a second to see if he comes back on.
Well, hopefully, you were here for Mike tonight. Hopefully, you'll tune in for some remainder of our fall previews that we have coming up. And then if maybe you'll flip back to any of them previously and check them out. We've got a ton of great insight for you guys for the Big Ten teams coming up for this season, in addition to Notre Dame. And then if you care that much about Midwest football, we got a MAC preview coming up too.
Yeah, that'll be fun too. Cool. I guess we'll peace out then. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you to Mike Regalado from 24/7 Sports for joining us this evening to talk the UCLA football Bruins. We are back on Wednesday this week with Tony Gerdeman. We are talking Ohio State. That's Clinton's favorite, not my favorite. We just have one more this week. That's
Maybe
all.
a third. We'll see if we can work with one other one to get in here. But
we're-
we got to reschedule, and then we got one more Big Ten team that has been elusive thus far, unlike their just like their offense the past couple of years. So
Something like that. Anyway.
hey, he's back.
Oh, hell yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Is he coming?
I see a screen.
He's on the screen.
Oh, dots.
There he is.
Rose, I'm like, hey guys, are you still there?
Yes, we are back. Mike is back, folks. Well, Mike, I was just giving you a shout out. Thank you so much for retweeting us and joining the show, and we've loved our interaction with the UCLA fans that have interacted tonight, been in the comment section. Thank you guys very much. And then for those of you who are interacting with us and now following us on the good old Twitter or X, whatever we want to call it these days.
I don't know. It's just like there were like 3. It's so bizarre just because everyone's on like different streams. So I'll like start a text, blah blah blah, throws a 50-yard pass, copy, paste it to another app,
Yep.
copy. Like people are moving to, I don't know where people are moving to or watching their social medias now, but hey, I got to cover it all. But that's been a new experience. The copy and paste alerts.
Listen, at this rate, we're like 6 months away from MySpace making a comeback. So that's
Oh my God.
That's back in my heyday. Mike, before we let you get out of here today, let everyone listening know where they can find your work and what you guys have in your pipeline here as camp is about to get underway here this week.
Yeah, you can check out all of our stuff at BruinReportOnline.com. I'm actually, after this, I'm jumping on with my co-host of the What's Bruin show. You can check that out we're on all the platforms and all the podcastings. So we're going to talk about Big Ten Media Days and whatever other UCLA news is there. And my handle on the X, on the Twitters is Mike Regalado LA. So yeah, if you want to know about UCLA sports as well as random music facts, I'm your guy. So.
Nice. We love it. We love it.
If you aren't following him for some reason, UCLA fans, please do. And stick around with us as well. It's going to be a fun season. Thank you once again, Mike, for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. We will be back with you guys Wednesday night. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your evening and your Tuesdays.
See you guys.